Ain't people watching them.
Okay.
Not yet, not yet.
Good day. Reporting live.
Share the live. Share the live. Share the live.
Get it?
Keep sharing the live. Keep sharing the live. Keep sharing the live.
Then we'll be on our way to allow you to enjoy your. So share the link, everybody. Hi, good night. Coco. Sure, I'll be right back in a second. Keep sharing the link, everybody. It's a dog. Keep sharing the link. Keep sharing the link. Share the link, everybody.
Yeah. No, about together. Yeah, because the weather started to rain last minute.
All right, share the link. As soon as we get, everybody share the link so that these 20 other people, you know we do it. Get on Twitter, get on Twitter, get on your Instagram, MSN, WhatsApp. Keep sharing the link to everybody. Dolores Denny, good night. Brenda Braffett, good night. Raul Hamilton, good night. Everybody share the link. Come on, get into all your Guyanese groups and share the link. Miss Seeley, good night. All right, so good night, everybody. I have a team of CGID people here. Y'all want to come and say hi? Say hi, say hi. These are the camera guys.
Good night.
Good night, good night. Say hi. The others are shy. All right, we got a lot more. Don't want to. All right, so share the link, everybody. As you guys know, a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, the Guyana Police Force issued a so-called wanted bulletin for me. Why? I'm influential in Guyana and in New York. The People's Progressive Party government, they're scared of me. They think that I'm too influential. They think that people listen to me when I speak. And so the only purpose of that bulletin is to tarnish my character. The only purpose of that bulletin is to tarnish my character. Someone overheard a person in the PP government saying, when they're finished with me, when people Google my name, they're going to think that I'm a criminal. So my first response to that is that we're going to have all of those things removed from the internet. We'll have all of those nasty comments and articles removed from the internet. The PP government doesn't control the world. Yes, they have oil money. Yes, they have Republican consultants. And yes, they're taking the part of the KKK and Jim Crow. But we will defeat them. We will defeat them. The purpose of the bulletin is to tarnish me and try to silence me. Well, as you can see, I'm here speaking. They cannot silence me. Everybody share this bulletin. Now, let me give you, I did before, but I'll give you again, a synopsis of this matter, because in Guyana, as long as you're East Indian and you support the PPP, not every East Indian, but if you're East Indian and you support the PPP, you're above the law. The Guyana Police Force protects you at every turn. The Guyana Police Force does not see itself as the premier law enforcement agency of Guyana to serve and protect the people. The Guyana Police Force, the current leadership of the police force, sees itself as beholden and servants and puppets of the Ali Jagdeh regime. Let me repeat that. The current leadership of the Guyana Police Force see themselves as the personal police force, personal puppets of the Ali regime. So if you're black and you don't support the PPP, the Guyana Police Force would leave you to die. Hundreds of people have made report to the Guyana Police Force and they've done nothing. But if the political puppet masters in the PPP direct the crime chief and direct the head of the major crimes unit and direct the police commissioner to take political action, they run and they do it. But they would not be in the Guyana Police Force forever. And we now see why the Granger administration removed the crime chief from that office when he was there before. We now see that. I see he's just been called to the bar. I question his ethics. But because we know he lied to the public in the Boston matter, he held a press conference and lied. And when he was caught lying, he lied and lied and lied again. So nothing the Guyana Police Force says should be believed. Nothing that comes out of the CID headquarters should be believed. Nothing. Nothing. These are people who are no better than the people they police, if you understand what I mean. So, like I said before, what happened in this case is that several people contacted me. As a matter of fact, it started with one person contacting me on Facebook, complaining that the car dealership known as BM Soat was conducting business with bad practices. Their transactions, people allege, appeared to be fraudulent. And so a woman complained to me. She sent me several complaints. The first two complaints she sent me, we did not respond to. The third time she sent, someone from my team responded. And keep sharing the link, everybody. And these are people complaining about being defrauded or being taken advantage of. And on the fourth or third time she sent, we responded. And then I asked her to send me documentation. And the documentation she sent me with a note was that she had purchased a car from BN Soat, and her family member had purchased a car. But she bought her car first, and she signed as the guarantor for the family member's car. And the family member missed one payment, and they took away the car and tried to sell it. And then they took her car as well, even though she was, as she said, up to date on her payment. They took away her car too. That sounded to me like unprincipled business. It sounds like you're taking advantage of people. You can't do that here. It's illegal. You go to jail. If you do that in this country, you'll go to jail. That's fraud. You cannot take away the collateral for a loan and then go and attempt to seize property of the guarantor. So we discussed this issue with our attorneys, and we decided to make a statement about it. I made a statement on my personal Facebook page. And when I made that statement, hundreds of people, go back and check it, over 700 people on one page alone. We did it on 2 pages. Over 700 people commented and said they had a similar experience. And so Attorney James Bond called me and said the owners reached out to him because they know that I know James Bond, and asked that we help them solve this issue with these customers because it is it's not good for their business. And obviously I have some influence because, you know, they felt that the business was being trashed, and rightly so. I live in a society where you don't take advantage of people. I live in a society where governments protect people. The government protect the people. In this case, the police and the government moved to protect the people who are taking advantage of poor people. So the general manager of the business called me and practically pleaded with me to change the post because it was damaging his business, and say that he wants to work with the people. to solve the problems. He wanted to address the complaints. He asked me if I could have the people make an announcement that the people must send their complaints to me. I'm not nobody's conduit, so I told him no, let them go to him directly. And I changed the post at his request. I noticed people saying that I changed the post because whatever. I changed the post at his request. And I preserved the conversation because I didn't go to school for nothing. Because I suspected, based on all the complaints of how they treat people, that they would have made some sort of false allegation against me. So I recorded him. And I recorded every single conversation I had with them. Every single conversation I recorded. My brains functions well. It wasn't left in my mother's womb. And thank you guys. Keep sharing the link. And he contacted me. He asked me to change the post for the people to come to see him. I agreed to do that. I went and I changed the post. About 15 people had messaged me with evidence. One was strikingly similar to the lady that messaged me first. And these people would come forward at some point in time. But one particular case that really ticked me off was a young man who was hospitalized. He bought a car from Soat. He said, he messaged them and said, I'm in hospital, so I can't make the payment. But as soon as I come out of hospital, I'll make the payment. The next day, they went and seized this car. And then they seized his mother's car too, or something like that. But what struck me there is that here you have a young man in hospital trying to be a responsible customer, telling you that he's hospitalized, and you're going to go and take the car, rip the car out of his yard. The police came and the police told them that it was wrong. But they still took the car. The police said it was a civil matter. That's not a civil matter. That's not a civil matter. If I have a car on my property and you want to repossess it, you can repossess it if it's on the road. But if it's in my property, you have to get a court order to come onto my property. So that was not a police matter. So the police did not act properly there. So that matter I sent to him and about a few others. But I didn't have the time to be sending these things to him. So I made the appointment. I made the announcement that people should contact them directly. About 4 or 5 of them I sent directly to him. And the people did contact me back and said the problem was solved. One, that same young man in particular that was in hospital, he went on my post and made a comment. And they tracked him down. They tracked him down, called him, and threatened that if he didn't remove the post from my page, they would call the police and sue him. That's how powerful these people are. Or at least they think they are. The young man complained on my page about what they did to him. And they tracked him down, called him, and threatened him with the police. So the Guyana police force apparently is acting as Soat's personal security mercenaries, right? They can threaten people for expressing freedom of speech. And at the end of this video, we're going to make a comment about this company. So that's what happened. That's basically what happened. I spoke to the guy. It was a cordial conversation. He was calling me back and forth, texting me back and forth, telling me, updating me on what he did for the customers. I didn't really care. I just wanted to make sure that people, poor people, that they're taken advantage of, had their matter addressed. And let me say this. I don't care how much they curse me. I don't care what they say about me. I will always stand up for the poor people. I will always stand up for the disadvantaged. I will always stand up for Black people. I will always stand up for East Indians and Amerindians who don't support the PPP, but they want to disparage and victimize and marginalize because of their political affiliation. I will always stand up for you. The police force can issue a wanted bulletin for me every day. I will always stand up for poor people. I will always stand up for the middle class. I will always stand up for the disadvantaged. Go and take that to the bank and bank it, according to our finale. Bank it. Don't stay in the bank, bank it. And I will always stand up for people who are mistreated by the police and abused by the police. I want to make that very clear. I am not afraid of the Guyana police force. I'm not afraid of the PPP government. Now, there was a back and forth about this issue. Now, let me say this. Once that post was up, a businessman by the name of Mr. Best contacted me. And he said, I bought a Range Rover from these people, and I never got the title. I bought a Range Rover from these people, and I never got a title. And I sold that Range Rover, or there was some transaction with the Range Rover, but up to now, we still can't get the title. So I asked him for his documentation. He sent me a lot of documents. Then we found out that the reason he couldn't get the title for the Range Rover is because these vehicles were brought in duty-free. These vehicles were allegedly brought in duty-free, and the laws of Guyana regarding the regulation about duty-free vehicles is that you cannot sell a duty-free vehicle until after 5 years of importation. So what these guys are doing, allegedly they're importing duty-free vehicles, these luxury vehicles, they're importing them under some sort of scheme where they're not paying duty and tax, the appropriate duty, or any duty. If it's duty-free, you're not paying any duty. And they're selling them. This is a major scandal. The government is not interested in that. They want to come after Rickford Burke all the way in New York. When you have a car dealership importing billions of dollars in cars, we don't even know where those cars are coming from. Are they stolen cars coming from America? We know the New York City Police Department a few years ago broke up a racket where they were stealing cars and transport them to Africa, ship them to Africa. Are these cars part of that scheme? We don't know. And we don't know because the Guyana police force is not willing to investigate that. So those of you in the diaspora, your family cars could be stolen and shipped to Guyana. We don't know. I am not accusing them of shipping stolen cars. I'm saying we don't know where these cars are coming from. And at least they should be investigated and charged for evading taxes. I want to call on the director of the Guyana Revenue Authority, a good gentleman, Mr. Stacia, and his colleagues at the Guyana Revenue Authority to launch an investigation into BM Soat's importation of luxury cars under some sort of scheme where they are importing cars duty-free and selling them back immediately and not waiting for the 5-year period. Why isn't there an investigation into that? You're going after the people who are complaining. Go after the criminals. You're coming after me. I'm not a criminal. I've never been charged with a crime or convicted of a crime or arrested. So this gentleman complained to me about this thing and this incident, and he sent documentation. Then he also said, these people owe me $170 million. They owe me $170 million because I sold them a shipment, 2 shipments of fuel, and they didn't pay for it. I said, okay. So when the general manager, BM Soat, thank you. When the general manager, BM Soat, contacted me, I raised that matter as well with him. He said it was his brother, and his brother will contact me with Attorney James Bond to address that matter. The brother did contact me. The brother did call me with Attorney James Bond, and we discussed the matter. He was contesting the amount and all of that. I said, here, everybody get your attorney, sit in a room and resolve the matter. It's not going to be resolved by you guys calling me in New York. So he agreed that Attorney James Bond would negotiate with the businessman and his attorney to have the matter resolved. They were going back and forth over a period of about 10 days or so, calling me, each side complaining when there was an impasse and so on. And I kept telling them, listen, keep talking, solve the matter. At one point in time, I got a call from the businessman and Attorney Bond saying, we think we got an agreement where, because the businessman was saying that these guys defrauded him, they offloaded his fuel without his permission, he conspired with one of his workers to defraud him. They stole his fuel because they took it off the ship without his permission. They don't want to pay him. All sorts of accusations back and forth. And I said, you guys can solve the matter with the attorneys. Eventually, Attorney Bond told me there was an agreement where they'll pay this guy, this businessman, about $20 to $30 million in advance. And they'll try to recoup some of the money from the people they allegedly gave it to on his behalf without his permission. And then they'll pay him at a later date. So I said, so why y'all fighting? Put that in an agreement and you all end the hostilities. So that's what they did. The attorney for the businessman drafted an agreement, sent it to Attorney Bond, who said that he sent it on to BM Soat's attorney, BM Soat and their attorney. And that's the last we heard of the matter. Then we heard that there was a cybercrime complaint where somebody allegedly put an article, a very accurate article when I read the article about BM Soat on GNN. Let me pause there. What's GNN? GNN is Guyana News Network. I'm a contributor to GNN. They carry my talk show on GNN. They publish my commentary and my viewpoints on GNN. I now want to be part of the board of GNN since GNN seemed to be affecting the government so much. So if I have them ask them to be on the board. But this article, GNN issued a statement saying the article, the information for the article was sent to them along with recordings. They didn't say by whom, recordings and documents, as well as a letter from the businessman's lawyer making certain accusation against BM Soat. They said they verified the article, the content for the story with the GRA and other sources. And they said they stand by the story is accurate. There is a recording with the businessman. Keep sharing the link. There's a recording with the businessman, BM Soat, one of the owners of BM Soat or his son or somebody, Afraz Mohammed, saying they don't pay taxes on the vehicle. He's on record of saying that. That's what the story was about, that he evades taxes and he gets away with it. He goes to the police and makes a report, allegedly. I don't know, it has to be. And on that basis, the police is acting. Later on, we found out that the police was trying to link that to me. They're saying, I control GNN. So what if I control GNN? I don't. This is America. The press is free. GNN is based in United States of America. No police, no government in any part of the world will tell us in America what to publish or what to say and try to criminalize journalism or criminalize articles. This is America. The Guyana police force cannot control what we do here. So what if GNN published an article accurately stating that the man evades taxes? That's not defamation. In order to prove defamation, as the crime chief knows, he's now a lawyer, you have to prove that it's false. The man is on tape saying, hey, boy, we don't pay taxes, boy, we don't pay $30 million, we don't pay them taxes. You don't know that vehicle, are we just bringing them vehicle duty free? That's what the investigation should be about. But they wanted to get to me, as I will demonstrate. So somehow, The businessman called 2 journalists. Remember, the police put out a statement saying people wanted to extort the businessman. This is the Guyana police force. I told you all not to believe anything the Guyana police force says. They're a bunch of dangerous criminals. They are dangerous criminals. They commit serious crimes and get away with it. The Attorney General got on his page and made a statement. Look and see where the real conspiracy is. Even before, keep sharing the link. Even before the Guyana police force made any public statement, the Attorney General, who was a criminal defendant before he was sworn in as Attorney General, he put out a statement. He said, number one, these journalists were arrested for attempting to extort $90 million from a businessman. Then later down in that same statement, he said something else. And then in the same statement, he said, these journalists said that they wrote the story and posted it on GNN. Now, there's nothing wrong with posting something on GNN. The fact is that GNN said that's not true. GNN said they don't even know these journalists. But now we find out the story. It was the businessman. Police sources, credible, senior police sources, told government officials here that it is the businessman who called the journalists. You all hear me? Go and shout it to the mountaintop. It is the businessman who called the journalists and asked them to tell them he gonna pay them to hack GNN and remove the story. Could you believe that? The businessman called the journalists to engage in a conspiracy to hack into the website of an American newspapers. And the Guyana police force was part of the conspiracy. Because the journalists apparently went there to his office, tried to hack the computer, tried to hack into GNN. They didn't get through. He paid them, and then the police come and arrest them. So the Guyana police force, the leadership of CID, was in a conspiracy with the businessman and these journalists to hack into GNN. I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, if somebody calls some people and say, here, take some money, and they believe they could do a job, hey, that's on them. And I don't care about what the journalists do or whatever it is. That's their business. But that's not extortion, to be fair. And I believe in fairness. I believe in justice. If you call me and say, come here and break this window and go in there and take out this money that is left, or take out the canister that is left in a drawer in the desk, and I go and break in there, but I couldn't get the canister, but you had to pay me because you had a contract, that's not extortion. That's not extortion. And that's what the police is charging these people with. The real conspiracy was the Guyana police force and the businessman conspiring to break into a US company. That's the real conspiracy here. And that's why we wanted to make the statement. Further, police sources confirm, and trust me, let me say this, when I speak, I have evidence. When I speak, I have evidence. So We have evidence from the police. Evidence that no journalist made any claim against Rickford Burke, because as I said, I don't know these people. It is the police that made that claim. Not one person made any allegation or any statement that Rickford Burke was involved in anything. And I've said that from the beginning because they can't. I don't know those people. I did not speak to those people. Those people don't know me. They don't know me. So, the Guyana police force puts out this statement and if you read their statements very carefully, they did not accuse me of anything. They said I'm wanted for questioning. I'm wanted for questioning. But let me say again. Let me say again. We have the statements. I want the Guyana police force to know. We have the statements. No one made any allegation against me in the statement. And they could not, because first, I wasn't involved in any conspiracy. I don't get involved in that kind of nonsense. Second, those people did not speak to me. Third, I did not agree with them for anything. So where's the conspiracy? I'm all the way in New York. What the journalists told them is that they believe that I have something to do with GNN. That's it. And that's their belief. Anybody could believe anything. I believe Jesus Christ is coming soon. 1,000 years ago, some people believed Jesus Christ was coming soon then. He didn't come yet. That was their belief. That was not a crime. Anybody could believe anything. And even if I'm a part of GNN, so what? So what? The People's Progressive Party and their cronies at CID headquarters cannot determine what is a legitimate press, cannot determine what is a legitimate news site, cannot determine how news must be printed and said in America. You can't. If the press is publishing stuff about you, write the press and correct the story if it's wrong, or go to the civil court and file defamation. But you can't abuse the powers of the police force because you're the commissioner's friend and you're the crime chief's friend, and because you left some bag somewhere for some man in the police force and you got good connections. That's not the kind of police force is to serve the public. So let me say again, the Caribbean Guyana Institute for Democracy, has the witness statements. Okay? No one made any allegation against me. So let's summarize this. No one made any allegation against Rickford Burke. There was no conspiracy with anybody. BM Soat actually owed the man millions of hundreds of millions of dollars. They also charged him with some conspiracy. But as far as I'm concerned, they charged him because he complained to me. That's what the Guyana Police Force is doing. The Guyana Police Force charged the businessman as punishment for exposing BM Soat, their friend. And then they said that I'm wanted for questioning with regard to extortion, conspiracy to extort money. There's past black people. Who wants to extort money from them? When they called me, these people called me to ask me to save their behind from a public onslaught. And they turn around and think they could set us up We're too bright for that. They don't have the brains to set me up. We're too bright for that. And that's why I preserved every one of the conversations. So they said that the conspiracy was under Section 33 of Chapter 801 of the criminal laws of Guyana. And I'll come back to that. But to wit, a violation of the Cybercrime Act by committing defamation or defamatory libel. How can, in defense of the rule of law, like I said before, defamation can only be proven, or you can only be charged, or sorry, you can only be guilty of defamation if it is false. When I read the GNN story, it is not false. There is a letter from the businessman's attorney outlining exactly what GNN said. That's number one. Number two, there's a recording. It's on my page. I played it in my last program. There's a recording with the businessman admitting to defrauding GRA. They don't pay duties. That's what he said on the tape. And there are other recordings that persons in this country have that they sent to us. We've not even released those yet. We've not released them yet. And even the law, that they said I violated, which is the criminal, I think they said Section 33 of Criminal Law 801, Chapter 801 of the Criminal Laws of Guyana. Section 4 of that law, the first thing it says, like in every other criminal criminal law practice, prosecution under the act has to be for persons who breach the law in the jurisdiction of Guyana. I didn't walk with the act to quote this specific section, but Section 4 says you can only prosecute if someone committed a crime within the jurisdiction of Guyana. That's the first place. The second thing is this Cybercrime Act, which I believe is unconstitutional. This Cybercrime Act cannot apply to anybody outside of Guyana's jurisdiction. A part of the act says whether you're inside or outside the country, which is nonsense. Because in America, free speech is guaranteed by the Constitution, and the government of Guyana has received several legal opinions on this matter. And I don't care whether or not they receive. I don't care whether or not they receive legal opinions. Free speech is free speech. And no racist apartheid government is going to use the Guyana police force to curtail my free speech or anybody's free speech in the Guyanese diaspora. So let me recap what I said. One, nobody entered. There was no conspiracy. There was no extortion. The businessman called these people, these journalists, to basically form a conspiracy to hack into an American news site. Two, none of these people spoke with me. I don't know them. 4, there was no extortion. I don't know these people. These people, I did not call the businessman. I ain't went to your house. Me not ask you for your money. You know that it's past black people. Black people always want the money. That's what they want to portray. Black people want our money. We are rich East Indians, and black people want our money. We don't want nobody money. One of my guys here is saying they're not even rich. But, so nobody tried to extort them. There was no defamation. So why, nobody made any accusation against me, because we have the statements. So why is this wanted bulletin? Clearly the wanted bulletin is intended to intimidate me, silence me. Yeah, silencing me. So what we have called for, we have called on the United States government, and we're calling on the United States Embassy in Guyana to launch an investigation against the Guyana Police Force and the government of Guyana for transnational repression. What they're trying to do is they see us in the diaspora as dissidents. They see us as leading the resistance to their racism and their apartheid government. So they're using the Guyana, abusing the powers of the Guyana Police Force to attack us, to try to silence us. We've written the Justice Department about this. We've written we have established a very clear record of transnational repression. And civil society in Guyana should speak out. We're not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of anybody. This is what they do in Guyana. This is what they do in Guyana. They've locked up Mark Benchcop for treason for speaking out. They've raided Sharma Television, raided Mark Benchcop radio station. These guys are Hitlers. These guys are Hitlers. They think they can rule the world because they have access to oil money. And then they send out their minions on social media to commit defamation, and the police are arresting them under the Cybercrime Act. Why? The Guyana Police Force is not there to enforce the law to protect black people and persons who don't support the PPP. The current Guyana Police Force leadership is the Guyana political force. We are there to serve our East Indian masters in the PPP. That's what they do, and that's a fact. So we have a meeting coming up with our members of Congress to discuss this matter. We've made a very clear and convincing case of transnational repression. We have submitted that complaint to the U.S. Attorney. We have submitted it to the FBI. We're calling for an investigation. We will not let this matter rest. We would not let this matter go. There must be an investigation of the Guyana Police Force by the United States government. We've also approached the Judiciary Committee of the United States Congress, and we're asking them to investigate this matter. What we want to know as well is what are the discussions between, and this is where the Judiciary Committee comes in, and our member Congress is on the Judiciary Committee. What are the discussions between US law enforcement and Guyana law enforcement? And are Guyana law enforcement officers, including the Attorney General, procuring the FBI, outsourcing their repression to the FBI to harass members of the diaspora? We want to know that, and that could very well come in a hearing or something before the United States Congress, or at least an investigation by the Congress. We've asked for that. We want an investigation. We cannot sit back and allow rebels, rogue cops, politically motivated cops to harass citizens in not only in Guyana, but across the Atlantic in other jurisdictions. These guys have the audacity to come to America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, to tell us how we must think. Remember, from the time the Attorney General became Attorney General, he was attacking us in the diaspora. Matter of fact, even before that, during the campaign, when I was speaking out, because I got several members of Congress to speak out, he attacked me and said, when they get in power, he'll have me extradited. Well, who the hell is he? For criticizing him? This is a man who was charged before the court with theft of government assets. This is a man, on the day he was installed as Attorney General, was a criminal defendant. Criminal defendant in court. He went to every court in Guyana and tried to get those charges dismissed, and every court dismissed his petition and ordered him to stand trial, including the Guyana Court of Appeal. And he is calling people criminal. He put out a statement saying he told the FBI that we in the diaspora are inciting domestic terrorism. He thought the FBI would have been excited about that. We are inciting domestic terrorism because we have the balls to confront them on their racism and call them out on their racism. This is a man who wrote a letter to the newspapers in Guyana telling a black organization they can't have a forum on apartheid governance because that's unconstitutional. Hitler. They think they're Hitlers. But let me speak to his complaint about domestic terrorism. It is Anil Nanlal who was caught on tape threatening to send gunmen to kill journalists at Kaieteur News. And we just saw Kaieteur News had an armed robbery. People threw a bomb in what, 10, 16 years ago, killed 5 journalists from Kaieteur News. The same Attorney General now who's complaining, who wants to procure the FBI to infringe on the free speech rights of Americans, he is the biggest domestic terrorist in Guyana, threatening to send gunmen to shoot up Kaieteur News. It's on tape. He also said people gotta run and leave the country because he owned it, his grandfather dead and left a transport for Guyana for he. So when he go in power, people gotta run and leave the country. And when they came into power, they launched a war on black people. Used the police force. Every person they arrested was black except the Amerindian former minister, George Norton. And like they dropped the charges against him. Because it's gonna look bad for them running a doctor, an indigenous citizen up the stairs of the courts. But black people, yeah, they're a criminal, let them go. So let me wrap this up by saying the wanted bulletin the Guyana police force issues for me, it's malicious, it's intended to tarnish my character. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. And I want to call on all Guyanese to support us now with the diaspora. Support me. Support my program. Support CGI. I'm bold enough to say it. Support. We are launching a diaspora defense fund in the next 2 weeks. Support it. Support it. Come to my Facebook page. Like it. Subscribe to my YouTube page. Let us grow bigger and better so we could confront them. Let us grow bigger and better. I want people in Guyana to become active. Let this arouse your consciousness. Let this arouse your passion, your civic passions, your civic nature, your civic mindedness. Become more aware. Stand up and be ready to fight the apartheid regime. The people in South Africa did it. We have shining examples in Cuba and all over where people fight dictatorships. Stand up for your rights and fight these racists. Don't let them trample you into the ground and treat you as second-class citizens. Don't let them try to re-enslave you. Yes, we're black and we're proud, but we have rights. Black people built Guyana. The slaves, my ancestors, built Guyana. And the others came after. We met the indigenous people there. But the slaves built Guyana. We have a right, an equal right, just like B.M. Soat, just like the Mohammeds, just like the Singhs, just like the Jagdevs, just like the Prasads, just like every member of the PPP. And we must fight for it. And for the East Indian supporters of the coalition, the opposition, you have a right to Guyana too. Fight for it to my Amerindian brothers and sisters who they despise because they don't support them. Fight for your rights. Don't call us in the diaspora. The political battle has shifted to the diaspora because we cannot sit by and see racist apartheid members of this government strike, mash down, subjugate, victimize, marginalize our people. We have a different orientation here. We're not afraid to stand up for our rights. You see, Black Lives Matter. And those racists in the PPP have the audacity to stay from Guyana and attack Black Lives Matter in America. I can't even say what I want to say. Too many people are watching me. These guys, they are being fed by racists in this country who are their consultants. And they're coming to Guyana with their Trumpism. They're coming to black people as though they want to re-enslave us. And then the president and his team, they're running to America trying to take pictures with black members of Congress to prove we love black people. Oh my gosh, we love black people. Trump did that too. Don't come to America to meet with black people. Meet with the black people home. Meet with the black groups. Meet with the black leaders. Listen to their cries. Come up with a development plan for the African Guyanese communities. That's one Guyana. Don't come with this counter slogan, one Guyana. And they're so blatant that the one Guyana means one East Indian Guyana. We have to fight back. We have to fight back. We have to make sure that we have a Guyana police force that stands up for everybody, that is not political. Imagine the audacity of the Guyana police force to issue a wanted bulletin for somebody who doesn't even live in the country, who has done nothing wrong. Imagine they charge a businessman because he's trying to get his money back from one of the rich Indian benefactors who finances the PPP. Imagine the Ministry of Home Affairs issuing a statement based on nothing. And I've asked my attorneys to sue the Ministry of Home Affairs for $1 billion. $1 billion. The fact is that they're scared of me. I'm too influential. I'm in America, but I have a lot of influence in Guyana. I have a lot of influence in America. I have a lot of influence in the diaspora across the Caribbean and Europe. They're scared. Let them continue to be scared because I will continue to speak out and speak truth to power. Truth to power. And I want everybody else to join as we continue to speak truth to power. Expose corruption in the Guyana police force. Expose corruption in the Guyana police force. Don't be afraid to speak out. And I want to address members of the Guyana police force. Listen, there are a lot of good people in the Guyana police force as I wrap up. Lots of good people in the Guyana police force. We're not talking about you. You must not condone corruption. That's why I've called for people from the Guyana police force to send us documentation to prove corruption. We will expose it. We will expose it. Send us the documents. We see how blatantly corrupt the leadership of the Guyana Police Force is. Send documents for us. Send the case files. Send the witness statements. Continue to send and keep us informed. Members of the Guyana Police Force, we thank you. We get a lot of information from members of the Guyana Police Force. Continue to send us information. Continue to expose the corruption. Thank you. Thank you. I've gotten thousands and thousands and thousands of messages and emails. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody who has spoken out, who have the gall to stand up and speak out against this racist regime, against the corrupt leadership of the Guyana Police Force. Thank you, everybody, for your support. Thanks for all the messages. Thanks for all the calls. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekend and be safe. Be safe. Thank you.